Hello friends, welcome to Read With Me. Today we will be reading Mercy Watson, Princess in Disguise. The author is Kate DiCamillo. The author writes the wonderful words. The illustrator is Chris Van Dusen. The illustrator creates the pretty pictures. This is a chapter book, so I'm going to break it into two parts. So be sure that after you finish part 1, you look for part 2. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson have a pig named Mercy. Mr. Watson, Mrs. Watson, and Mercy live together in a house at 54 Decaloo Drive. One October afternoon, in the living room of the house on Decaloo Drive, Mrs. Watson had an idea. Look, she's here knitting, and she had an idea. And Mr. Watson is reading the paper, and Mercy is over here snoozing on the sofa. "Darling," said Mrs. Watson. "Yes," said Mr. Watson. "Halloween is coming." "It most certainly is," said Mr. Watson. "I believe that Mercy should dress up," said Mrs. Watson. Mercy opened one eye. "I believe that Mercy should dress up and go trick-or-treating," said Mrs. Watson. Mercy opened both eyes. She liked very much the sound of the word treating. "What a splendid idea," said Mr. Watson. But what should Mercy be? What do you think Mercy should dress up as? I wonder what she would make. And what are you going to dress up for Halloween? Chapter 2. Should Mercy be a ghost? Asked Mr. Watson. "I don't think so," said Mrs. Watson. "A pumpkin?" "Not quite right," said Mrs. Watson. "I don't think I like Mercy as a pumpkin." "A pirate? A robot? A witch? What's your favorite, Mercy? Dress up. A pumpkin, a pirate, a robot, or a witch?" "I like Mercy as a pirate and a robot. How about you?" "No, no, no," said Mrs. Watson. Mercy sighed. She closed her eyes. She fell asleep. "What then?" asked Mr. Watson. "What should Mercy be?" "I am quite certain," said Mrs. Watson, "that Mercy should be a princess." "Of course," said Mr. Watson. "It is obvious. Why didn't I think of that?" "You must go find her a tiara," said Mrs. Watson, "and I will make her a princess dress." "I am on the case," said Mr. Watson. "Oh, Mercy," said Mrs. Watson, "you will be so lovely. You will be beautiful beyond compare. Do you think Mercy will make a nice princess?" "I think she will." Chapter 3. Mrs. Watson measured Mercy from snout to tail. She measured her from side to side. She measured Mercy around and around and around. "Heavens," said Mrs. Watson, "I hope I have enough fabric." When Mercy woke up from her nap, Mrs. Watson was smiling at her. Look, Mrs. Watson is sweating. She has a big job to do because Mercy is a very large pig. "Darling," said Mrs. Watson, "your dress is finished." "Oink," said Mercy. "I know," said Mrs. Watson. "It is stunning, isn't it? Let's try it on." Mrs. Watson put Mercy's right front leg into the dress. Mercy took her right front leg out. Mrs. Watson put Mercy's left front leg into the dress. Mercy took her left front leg out. Mercy does not want to wear this princess dress. How are they going to get her convinced to wear it? "Goodness gracious," said Mrs. Watson. "Please hold still or we will never get this dress on." "My darlings, my dears," called Mr. Watson, "I am home and I have located the tiara." "Oh, Mr. Watson," said Mrs. Watson, "I am having a difficult time. Mercy does not want to wear her princess dress." "Perhaps," said Mr. Watson, "you should tell her about the treats." Do you think Mercy will put the dress on for treats? I think she will because Mercy loves treats. Chapter 4. Oh, she's interested. Mercy pricked up her ears. She liked treats. Her favorite treat of all was toast with a great deal of butter on it. "My darling, my dear," said Mr. Watson, "if you wear this dress Everyone in the neighborhood will give you treats." Mercy closed her eyes. She could see it quite clearly. Look, Mercy is imagining stacks and stacks of toast with a great deal of butter on it. "But if you want the treats, you must wear the dress," said Mr. Watson. Mercy sighed. She allowed Mrs. Watson to put her left front leg and her right front leg into the dress. She allowed Mrs. Watson to zip the dress up. She allowed Mr. Watson to put the tiara on her head. "Utterly regal," said Mrs. Watson. "A porcine vision," said Mr. Watson. Mercy's stomach growled. She was looking forward to the treats. The only thing Mercy cares about is the treats. Chapter 5. On Halloween night, the doorbell rang at the Lincoln sisters' house. "Ding dong!" "Sister," called baby Lincoln, "somebody is at the door." "Of course somebody is at the door," said Eugenia. "It is Halloween. People are expected to be at the door when it is Halloween." "Meow," said General Washington, Eugenia Lincoln's new cat. "Trick or treat," shouted Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson. "Oink," said Mercy. "Mercy is a princess," said Mr. Watson. "She looks exactly like a princess," said Baby. "She looks like a pig in a cheap dress," said Eugenia. "Oh, sister," said Baby. "In my opinion," said Eugenia, "pigs should not go trick-or-treating. In my opinion, pigs should not pose as princesses." "Meow," said General Washington. "Oh, dear," said baby Lincoln. Eugenia Lincoln slammed the door shut. Poor Mercy, Eugenia is not going to give her any treats. Chapter 6. "Eugenia seems upset," said Mr. Watson. "Yes," said Mrs. Watson, "she does." Mercy's stomach growled. Where are the treats? She wondered. Where is the toast? "Look," said Mr. Watson. "I think Baby is trying to tell us something." Look, Baby is here at the window pointing. "Oink," said Mercy. She kicked up her heels. She ran around the back of the Lincoln sisters' house. "Follow that princess," said Mr. Watson. Chapter 7. Baby Lincoln was waiting at the back door. "Shh," she said. "I am afraid that sister is not in a Halloween sort of mood, but I could not let you leave without your treats." "Yum," said Mr. Watson. "What a delightful array," said Mrs. Watson. "What shall we choose, Mercy?" "Ding dong! Baby!" shouted Eugenia. "Where is that treat bowl?" "I'm on my way, sister," shouted Baby. "Hurry, hurry!" Baby said. "Take something." Mercy examined the treats very closely. She did not see one single piece of toast, but she did detect the faintest hint of butter. "Butter," thought Mercy. Look, Mercy has her whole head in the treat bowl. Oh no, disaster. The treat bowl fell. "Oh," said Baby. "Mercy!" We are going to stop here today on Chapter 8. Be sure to check out part number 2 to find out what happens in Mercy. Thank you for watching, and thank you to my subscribers. I appreciate it, and it is encouraging me to make more book videos. And please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell for notification. Until next time.